Now, if you take a look at the AFC standings, you see a lot of teams sitting at 2 and 3, except for Buffalo and Kansas City. They kind of look like they're in a league of their own at this point. Everyone else is sitting right around 2 and 3 and 3 and 2. The AFC is completely up for grabs. And one of the teams that we thought would be in that upper echelon, along with the Bills and the Chiefs, was the Denver Broncos. We really thought the AFC West was going to be one of the best divisions in football that we've potentially ever seen. There was a real discussion about 4 teams from that division all competing and making the playoffs, which is just crazy to think about because you look at the Raiders, they're 1-4. The Broncos look really rough, and then obviously the Chiefs are doing what they're doing, and the Chargers just can't seem to stay healthy. So a lot has changed. Not a lot of dominant teams in the AFC. Like I said, it's really up for grabs. But like I said before, also, the Denver Broncos just not performing like we thought they would. And a big reason for that is Russell Wilson. In this video, I want to talk about kind of my take on Russell Wilson and kind of talk about, is he washed? What are we really seeing here? But before I get into it, I'd like to remind you guys to leave a like and make sure to hit that subscribe button. I cover all topics throughout the NFL. Also a bunch of Jags content, which is, if you're not a Jags fan, you can still find enjoyment in those. They're usually not the happiest videos, so maybe you'll get a kick out of it. Also hit that notification bell so you get a notification every time I post a brand new video. And also leave a comment. Drop down how you're feeling about Russell Wilson and the Broncos in general. I'm really curious to hear your opinions. I want to see if you guys are on the same page as I am or seeing the same things that I'm seeing. But yeah, let's get into it. What's tough for the Denver Broncos is they came in with a bunch of expectation with the pretty much new regime and a new quarterback. That's really tough to fix and kind of convert into one fresh offseason. There's a lot of new pieces, a lot of moving parts, and we kind of expected it to kind of all just kind of work out just because you look at the talent on that roster. You got guys like Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, Russell Wilson, Javonte Williams, an improved offensive line, a defense with Bradley Chubb, Patrick Surtain, just a lot of Justin Simmons, just a lot of really fantastic players on both ends. And they've been extremely disappointing thus far. And a big reason for that is Russell Wilson. And a big problem with Russell Wilson that I think isn't being talked about enough is kind of what he was great at in Seattle was off-script plays, the deep ball, and his mobility. And you kind of look at this, mid-30-year-old quarterback. He doesn't have the mobility. He doesn't have the mobility like he used to. He's struggling with that mobility to create plays off script. And he's kind of lost a little bit of touch on his deep ball due to his injuries. So what we're looking at here is a very, very, shell of what he used to be. And I think it's time. I know it's only 5 games into the season, but Russell Wilson hasn't looked like the Russell Wilson that we're accustomed to seeing since 2019. It's the 2022 season. It's been some time. And I think at this point, it's tough to write off a guy like this, but what he lacks is very difficult to overcome, especially due to his age. When you watch the Denver Broncos play, you see him kind of standing in the pocket, holding the ball way too long, like he did in Seattle a lot of the time, and not being able to create plays off script, even with good receivers. It's just not happening. And especially with his size, he's always struggled to throw over the middle of the field. You see that last play in their last game against Indianapolis on primetime? KJ Hamler was wide open, right over the middle of the field. Just one example, I know. You can point to a lot of other instances where he makes plays. But, that was a big thing he struggled with throughout his entire career because of his smaller frame and his ability to kind of roll out and create things off script. Now that he doesn't have that and he has to play more of a pocket passer type role, it's not working out well. And I know you can bring up a lot of excuses. You lose Tim Patrick in the offseason. Not the biggest name, but a really solid target. You got to trade away Noah Fant. You lose an athlete at tight end. You got a brand new head coach in Nathaniel Hackett who looks just atrocious, whether that be play calling, time management, just pretty much anything it takes to be a good head coach. He's really just not doing it. Javonte Williams tearing his ACL, unfortunately, one of the best young backs in the NFL. I believe personally, if Melvin Gordon isn't getting the touches that he is, that we're looking at Javonte Williams in the same category as we're talking about Joe Mixon, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, kind of that not S tier, Like not the Christian McCaffrey or the Jonathan Taylor, I guess, coming into the year, but right under that tier, right in the A tier with the top backs in the league. There's a lot of things that have gone wrong for this Denver Broncos offense, not to mention Garrett Bowles, now out for the season, one of their best offensive linemen. There's a lot of excuses to be made, but at the end of the day, Russell Wilson didn't have much in Seattle when it came to an offensive line. His targets were never the best in the league, but he always made it work. And you look at him now and you're like, I don't really see it happening. Especially in a division where you are playing these top tier teams. I know the records don't really show it, but the Oakland Raiders, I may have said Oakland earlier. I don't know why, but that one still gets me. I have no idea why. But Las Vegas, they're a much better team, especially on paper, than their record really indicates. They've really competed in essentially every game. Even last week, I have no idea why you go for 2 in that situation, like McDaniels did, but I think they're a lot better than their record indicates. And then Kansas City, you're playing them twice a year. Good luck. The Chargers, you're playing them 2 times a year. I know they don't look too great right now just due to health, but they're a team that can compete with anybody. They can beat any team any Sunday. And you can't say that for every team. I know it's any given Sunday, but the Chargers, it's really tough to bet against Justin Herbert and that offense. But yeah, they have a very tough schedule. They have a lot of injuries. I don't know if they can turn it around. I know we're 5 games into the season. There's 12 to go. A lot of football to be played. But from what I've seen, it's crazy to say that it might be enough. But for me personally, I think it is enough. I don't see them recovering from this. And I personally really don't think I see Russell Wilson recovering from this. I know it's a crazy hot take and it sounds insane to hear. But I don't know if I can consider Russell Wilson an elite quarterback going forward. And what's tough for Denver is they have him under contract for multiple years. Gave up a ton of assets for him. And you're kind of stuck with a guy who just isn't who you traded for. He's no longer that guy. It's the idea of Russell Wilson is a lot better than the Russell Wilson that we have in front of us. And that's crazy to say. You know, like he's been one of the best quarterbacks in football since he came into the league, like literally right away. And you know, age is a real thing. And it really limits what he was so dominant at in Seattle. And I don't know if he can really overcome it, especially with the brand new injury to his throwing arm. It's going to hinder a lot of, again, what he does so well. I know I'm rambling in this one. It's just kind of a lot of thoughts coming together. And what makes matters worse, it's not even really just my opinion. The numbers back it up as well. This is the lowest, if the season were to end today, this is his worst completion percentage, his worst touchdown to interception ratio. It's his second worst adjusted completion percentage, which accounts for drops, and yards per attempt. Like in his entire career. These are the worst numbers we've seen from Russell Wilson, but it's been a trend. It's been trending in this direction, which is unfortunate. And like I said before, I mean, he was a huge big play guy. According to Big Time Throws, which is an advanced analytic from PFF, he's sitting right there at 3.5%, which he's typically sat around 8.5%, which is like close to the top of the league, if not the best. And it's just completely plummeted. And I really do think that has to do with his ability to create off script and make big plays happen. And unfortunately, I think that's just the reality that we're living in right now. And Russell Wilson's talent is just through the roof from what we've seen in his career. So it really is difficult for me to say he's washed. But if I'm being honest, that's just how I feel. And I've really been given no glimpses or flashes throughout this season to make me think otherwise. And trust me, I've watched. They've forced this team to play in prime time throughout the entire year. And sorry, Broncos fans, but please, I feel like you can understand where we're coming from here. And I'm a Jags fan, so I can't say too much. But I really do not want to watch them play on primetime anymore. Until they figure it out, flex them out. Flex them out. Throw somebody else in. And I don't mean throw on the Giants and Cowboys like I feel like is on primetime 50 times a year. Throw some teams that are actually playing good football. It was funny until it wasn't. Now it's just depressing and boring. So yeah, a little bit of a harsh take here. Russell Wilson's a great player from what we've seen in his career, but unfortunately I think he's over the hill. I know this video may be a bit shocking. It's a very bold take, but I think it's a reasonable take to have right now. It's very reactionary, I understand. But again, from what I've seen and kind of how he's demonstrating his play right now, from what I've seen so far, I really have no reason to think otherwise. So I hope he proves me wrong. Russell Wilson's an electric quarterback to watch. Unfortunately, it just hasn't been the case this year. But I really do hope he turns it around. I don't want this to come off as like a Russell Wilson hate video. It has nothing to do with me hating Russell Wilson whatsoever. It's just my opinion and what I've seen so far. I'm rooting for his success. I want to see Denver do well. Go win some games for my boy Javonte Williams. That's my guy. I appreciate you guys for watching. And until next time, I'll catch you guys in the next one.